Yes, this is another build video, but hear me out. I have something radical to say. I'm not going to teach you how to make Geralt of Rivia, Iron Man, or Batman. No offense to the people who make those types of videos, but I'm here to present to you a thematic build for your character that you can run with and make your own. The builds I want to do in this series are either really fun, really thematic, or really mechanically strong. Preferably an even mix of all three. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into our first build, the level 5 Blighted Warden.
In the shadowed underbrush of the ancient forest, where the line between decay and growth blurs, the Blighted Warden moves unseen. A spectral guardian at the crossroads of life and death, melding the Gloom Stalker's mastery of darkness with the Circle of Spores' eerie command over fungal life. They are the embodiment of nature's unchecked, wild ferocity. With each arrow knocked from their twisted, spore-infested bow, they strike with the precision of night and the inevitable spread of decay. A silent protector of the natural order's darker, untamed side.
All right, so there we go. There's our thematic intro. We now know what this guy is all about. Let's get to building him. First things first, we need to start with a race in D&D Beyond. Our race, I prefer to go with Tasha's custom lineage for this, just to leave it up to the player as much as they'd like to decide who they are. And also this way, you can be a half-orc and still get the bonus to wisdom or dexterity or strength, whichever one you want to go with. In terms of stats, you want to make sure your strength or dexterity is the highest, since we're starting with Ranger at level 1, so you want to make sure that your fighting ability is highest, followed shortly by Wisdom and Constitution. Constitution never can go wrong there, to be able to take the hits. If you go with either a variant human or Tasha's custom lineage, like I recommended, you're going to get a feat at level 1. I recommend choosing whatever fits best for your character in terms of themes, or if you want to go with something that has a little bit more of a mechanical gel, I would recommend either the Sharpshooter feat if you're doing a Dexy Blighted Warden build, or Alert if you don't know if you're going to be using a bow that often. Alert is really good and pairs really well with our Gloom Stalker feature that we're going to get later on. So now that we have our race figured out, for the most part at least, we now go on to our class. As I said before, we're going to be starting at level 1 with Ranger. Levels 1, 2, and 3 are going to be Ranger, so we can get all the way up to our subclass choice for level 3, and we're going to go with the Gloom Stalker. In terms of skills that we'll want to gain when we pick level 1 Ranger, go with your gut for whatever fits your backstory. You're going to hear me say that a lot. But safe bets are Insight, Perception, and Survival. Those tend to get the most mileage in any D&D campaign. If you want to go for a strength-based Blighted Warden, make sure that you choose Athletics as one of your skills. If you're going for a Dex-based Blighted Warden, go for either Stealth or Acrobatics, or both if you can afford it from the skills you get to pick from your race and the class combined. Now, one of the best parts about going Gloom Stalker up to level 3 for Ranger is at least once a round per combat, we will get 2 attacks thanks to Dread Ambusher. So we won't feel as far behind our fighter companion that I mentioned earlier. However, if you want to play a little bit more defensively, I would recommend going Shield and Sword and picking the dueling fighting style that you'll get at 2nd level. If not, go with Archery, go with 2-weapon fighting, go with whatever sort of fits the build that you're going for. One final note on our levels 1 through 3 of Ranger, ask your DM if they're okay with you using the alternate Ranger rules that were released some time ago. I find that these are more generally useful to Rangers in the early time of a campaign, and even beyond that. Level 4 and 5, we are going to go with Druid, and we are going to multi-class in to the Circle of Spores Druid subclass. The reason we're going with Circle of Spores is mainly for the thematic play that it has with Gloom Stalker. The two mesh together so incredibly well. It is such a strong thematic build. But also having Halo of Spores and Symbiotic Entity, they will be able to help you ramp up your damage the more combat goes on. In terms of specific spells that I would recommend going with any of these that are on the screen now in front of me. All of these spells are good, especially if you want to lean into a bit more of a melee-based ranger. A lot of these spells, especially the druid ones that you have picked once you do get to levels 4 and 5, those are going to change out pretty frequently to better fit whatever situation you need to address. So in terms of specific synergies between these two subclasses and classes, Symbiotic Entity combined with Favored Foe, or Hunter's Mark if your DM isn't okay with you using the optional Ranger features, allows us to pepper every single one of our attacks with some pretty great damage. 1d6 from Symbiotic Entity and 1d4 from Favored Foe. It's good stuff. It starts to add up after a while. And on top of that, we're also pretty much going to always be going first on the turn order if we took the Alert feat. If not, our initiative score is still going to be pretty high because of the passive from Gloom Stalker, and because of the Halo of Spores passive from the Spores Druid, we can actually pick whoever we want this to trigger on, because the way that it's worded is that at the beginning of their turn, they take the damage, not at the beginning of your turn. Should we choose to Wild Shape, activating our Symbiotic Entity as a melee-based ranger, that could be really strong. I mean, temporary HP, never a bad thing, mind you. We are always going to have a strong opener because of Gloom Stalker, and then later on down the line in different rounds of combat, we're going to have the added bonus of the utility that druids have and being able to change out our spells after a long rest. I mean, that is really, really, really useful. So you can adjust your toolkit for whatever problems you're going to be facing. And I mean, that's it. That's the build. At level 5, it's really simple. First 3 levels in Ranger, second 2 levels in Druid, Gloom Stalker, Circle of Spores, and then you just want to flavor it however you want in terms of how they handle combat. Are they going to do sword and board? Are they going to do 2-weapon fighting? Well, then go for the 2-weapon fighting style. Or do you want to have them be an archer? Well, go for the archery fighting style and go for sharpshooter. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can kind of mix and match to make it your own, which is the point, right? I want to give you a thematic base that has good mechanical gelling, and then you take it from there. That's the build. If you're interested in seeing more of these, be sure to comment below for ideas that you have. I do have 2 more variations of this prepared at levels 10 and level 15, the Verdant Stalker and the Mycelium Reaper, just continuing on with the ideas of how you would play this class and how you would level them up throughout levels 5 through 15. The character sheet is linked below to D&D Beyond, and the monster stat block for the Blighted Warden is also linked below in D&D Beyond. The final thing I want to do on Build Better is I want to take the 3 key elements that I talked about in the beginning. How fun it is, how thematic it is, and how strong mechanically it is, and I want to give those a point value based off of what I think, so you know going into it what to expect. So this is a percentage. Think of this as a grade. As a former teacher, let me stress, an F isn't bad. It just means that the class has somewhere to improve. And maybe that's where you choose to take more time and effort to sort of grind out those things and figure out how you can improve that aspect of it. But enough chit chat. Let's get into the ratings. I wowould give the Blighted Warden a 60% in fun. In terms of themes, this is a 100. I mean, this is an A++ in terms of themes. It understood the assignment. And then finally, for mechanical power, we are looking at about a 40%. I think that if you decide to go for the variant ranger abilities, the alternate ranger rules, I think that the mechanical power goes easily up to a 50 or 55. But as it stands right now, with just the base 5e rules, probably about a 40 is where it is for most campaigns. So with that, there is the Blighted Warden build. If you enjoyed it, like I said, please subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you want to see. Thank you for watching Build Better, and I hope to see you in the next one.